Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video we're going to be looking at one of two books that were part of my childhood and basically took the place of what most people would have read, The Diary of Anne Frank. So this is the Holocaust narrative. I'm going to hold this on. The cover's gone. This proves how old this book is. This is Hide and Seek by Ida Vos. So if I can find some sort of cover here. So this is the inside cover. Again, this is a really, really old book. Yes, it's still in print and paperback form. So this book tells a story. It's a first-person narrative by Ida Vos. She fictionalizes it by changing her and her sister's name to Rachel and Esther. And it talks about how they were living in they're in the Netherlands, so she is Dutch, and how they start off. See if I can show the link. Where are they? They're in, I think they're in Rotterdam at the beginning of the story. So, which is where her family is. So, yeah, she was, let's see, yeah, she was born in Rotterdam. That's where she lived. And then after the German bombardment, they moved to, I'm going to mispronounce this, it's near The Hague. Okay. It's a German city. I'm going to, here, I'll spell it if anybody's interested. It's Rijswijk. So, Ristwig. I don't speak Dutch. So, they moved to, they moved there, which is a bit smaller, before going into hiding. So, this story very much relates the first person narrative of how her and her sister are separated from their parents. They spend the war in completely different places. I think she's, let's see if I go through the chapters here. It talks about a little bit in the beginning, and when they go into hiding, their family is together at first, but they're separated, and the girls end up with they have their stars taken off, and they have to give everything away. Let's see. Yeah. They're pulled away from their parents to go into hiding. So, let's see. Yeah, going into hiding. And Rachel's relatively young. I think she's 8 at the start of the book, and she's 12 near the end. But as a reviewer noted, she doesn't really relate the passing of time, because that's not the way children would think. The author very much takes a point of relating it as a child would see it. So they're paying attention more to people and events than necessarily the whole passage of what year is it, how long have I been hiding. Not to mention, they're scared. Their parents, particularly when it comes to Ida, as the actual author, in way of Rachel, she knows a little bit more what's going on because she's older, and she has this little sister that she needs to protect, and they're away from their parents, and time is passing, and they're scared. They know that she's very much aware that if they're found, they could die. This is not hidden from her, so they have to be very, very careful. So she eventually, they hide in various different places, and then, let's see. And then it talks about them having to stand watch while they're waiting in case the Germans come, and how they, I believe, yeah. And I believe where they go. It does talk about some of the people who help them go into hiding, who do end up disappearing and being killed. Let's see. And let's see, for a while you go through them hiding with their parents, and then they go with someone else. And let's see. They use, this is one of the tricks they use, because I'm skimming through this book, I haven't read it in a while. They have a sign on their door, quarantine scarlet fever, which scares away the Germans because scarlet fever was very, very contagious and very deadly back then, so nobody wanted to catch it. So it helped get the Germans away. It talks about how she gets older when she starts getting breasts. Again, she's coming of age here. And again, she's in hiding. So it's very, very different. So, and then let's see. Yeah, they end up with a new uncle and aunt. And they use people's separate names, so they had hidden names. And they go in to live with a woman they call Aunt Nell and her husband Uncle Jap. And they're used to this by now. They're used to getting a variety of different Uncle Aunts, people who were helping hide them. And so, but they've had their, basically, their names have changed. I think, what do they call her? She goes by, let's see, I think Raya is what they call her sister. I can't remember what they call her. But they're very, very frightened. And this it basically tells her story and how they're the variety of different places, different people having to be quiet. Then they're separated from their parents. She's growing up. Because again, the book starts in 1940. They go into hiding in 43. So, yes, I'm counting. So she's in hiding for like 3 years. And so she starts growing up. One of these things, and one of the, at the end, is, now the people who are hiding them know their real names. So, and they find this out. They don't really know this. Let's see. At the very, very end, where they let them out. Because it does talk about what happens after the war. So, how once the Nazis are gone, the family basically goes outside, who've been watching them, goes outside and announces basically their entire community. It's like, hi, we've been hiding these Jewish girls for like a couple of years. So, but then it goes back when they return home and they have to remember getting their names. And Rachel has to remember that that's her name, that her name isn't Raya anymore, and that she has to change, and they interact with other people. But then it specifically goes over their grandparents are found. Their grandparents somehow survive being in the camps, though it's noticed that her grandfather has very much changed because he's used to starving, and he's going around and stealing people's garbage. And that it saddens her because this is her grandfather that she loved, and they were very, very sick, and they were in a concentration camp. How they survived, obviously they did, because this is a true story, but it's very, very surprising that her grandparents lived, because not going to be pretty common. So, but it does, I think there's a section where her grandfather is basically gathering people's trash. And because he's been in the camps, he's been used to starving, things have been horrible. And so he's damaged. And then the very last is, the list of people. Or she interacts with a man who basically he's been in the camps, and he has the numbers on his arm. And the girls don't fully understand this, and their parents kind of have to explain it. And let's see, the very end of this is, and this is the, it starts listing at the very end of the book. In fact, I'll show it to you, gone. And it lists all the people that she knew that are gone. So, and basically 100,000 Dutch Jews were killed in German concentration camps. Among them were the following people mentioned in this book. And it lists, her uncle Jacob died in I can't pronounce this, Muswesen, aunt and uncle, grandparents, cousins died in Treblinka in Sober. Those were killing camps. Those were not concentration camps. They were literally people just sent there to die. Friends of hers, unknown. Another went to Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, several people who were at Auschwitz and Sober. Now remember, Sober and Treblinka, I believe, were specifically, those were death camp. Auschwitz was a combo. So that's the reason Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen are also put together, because they were part of the same complex. But she lists all these names. Her aunts and uncles, a lot of them died in Auschwitz. So apparently it looked like one of the guys who helped them, this father, I don't speak Dutch, therefore I can't pronounce these names. He was imprisoned and then he was released 5 months later. So she notes that she tried to record it as best as possible, and she had made certain names for literary purposes, but they helped save their lives. So the book is specifically mentions and written in honor to her wartime foster parents, Aunt Nell and Uncle Jeff de Lang. Probably mispronouncing that, because again, I don't speak Dutch. I enjoy this book. I enjoy this book a lot. It's the reason I still have it in horrible condition. We'll probably buy a better condition for my kids. But it's very much a first-person narrative, and it represents her memories as a child, how their world was turned upside down. Their home was bombed, their city was bombed, they moved, then they went into hiding. They were going from one place to another. They had to be quiet. They weren't in school anymore. They lost their freedom. And that's something I think Vos very much stresses, is that as a child, she lost her freedom. Now, in real life, Vos, after the war, she grew up, she got married, she became a kindergarten teacher. But in the 70s, she essentially kind of had a mental breakdown because she had PTSD from the war, from being a child during the war. And writing helped her. So writing down the memories helped her. She has a couple of other books that I have not read. This is the only one I have, and that I have read and I remember from my childhood. And the other book that I read that's Holocaust-based is Joanna Reese's The Upstairs Room, which is very, very similar in writing, though because Reese was locked up with her older sister, it was a little bit different. I will cover that book at some point as well. So this is a very, very good book. Hold it up again, but guys, obviously I read this book and it looks like it's been damaged. That's the cover page. So the other thing that she mentions, she does a foreword to the American edition. So where she's trying to bring, specifically, it's like, come with me to a small country in Western Europe, to the Netherlands, to a land known as Holland. Come with me back to the year 1940. She's 8 years old and Germans are coming through the streets. And everything is forbidden for Jews. And they put their grandparents in a camp. They must work hard there. But they're old. And it's like, how can they work hard? Because they don't want to go to the camp. It's like, we go and hide from the Germans. It's called being in hiding. And they can no longer go outside. We must be very quiet. No one is supposed to know that where we are. No one is supposed to hear us. Imagine that for a child. Her and her little sister drill tiny holes through an outside door. This is so they can see what's happening out in the street. They each have to look. And then suddenly it's over for them. It's May of 1945. She's allowed to go outside again. American and Canadian soldiers have come to chase the Germans away. She can go to school again. She's 13 years old when she gets out. It's like, but she's only in the fifth grade. She feels stupid because how stupid she became when she went into hiding. She can go swimming again. She can go to the library. She can sit on a bench again. She may spend the night away from home. It's like, I want to visit my grandparents, but I can't. I want to visit my cousins because I can't. But she can't because they were killed, because they were Jews. And then I can no longer visit because she lost so much family. And And it's like, after the war, so many people were dead. Too many people to tell about in the foreword. And she does, again, she lists them in the back. And she asks children, and this is hard, can you imagine how it feels to find out the people you loved are dead all of a sudden? Because that's what it was like. They went into hiding, and they came out, and entire families were wiped out. Generations were gone, just like that. They died in the camps, in the gas chambers. They were shot, they starved to death, they died of disease. It was horrible. But this relates her stories. But the other thing that she says at the very end, it's like, I wrote to help children understand what happened. And then this is her last lines of the foreword. When you have finished reading hide and seek, I want you to go outside for a while. If that is possible, breathe deeply, play, shout, be happy, be free. All right. That's emotional. She wrote this in the spring of 1990. I believe she died in 2004. So she experienced this. This is her first-hand account of being a child and having her world turned upside down. Going in, I think she was 8 in 1940. She said she was 13. They went into hiding in 1943. So, and then she came out, she went back to school at 13. She was a young kid, and then all of a sudden she's a teenager, and she's lost all her family, her various grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, all are dead. And she survived, her and her family. And then her, I think, whether one set of grandparents survived. I don't think anybody else did. So it's a very, very poignant first-hand account. This is a children's book. This is a children's book. I think I'm pulling up Amazon. What age range? Yeah, grade level 3 to 7. So this is a children's book. It's not horrific in the writing. It's horrific in the concept of the history that this happened. She does not hide the fact that all of these people died, that they lost so much family. So, but she writes the book in a way to be understood by this age level as a child, because that's how she experienced it, and that she went to great trouble to write it in that manner. So, fantastic book. Again, I think Amazon is saying grade level 3 to 7. I'm not sure you would want to read this book aloud, just because of the topic. If you're studying the Holocaust, particularly for homeschoolers, this is a great book to read. As I said, I've read this book, and then The Upstairs Room is what I read Holocaust-wise as a child. Those are the two books that I knew. I have never read The Diary of Anne Frank, and I'm on the fence about doing it, personally. Partially because I don't like things that are entirely depressing. So it's a little odd. I may read it at some point. We will see. But it's this book, as you can see, bad condition. My copy of The Upstairs Room is not in much better condition. Those books were read quite a bit. I enjoyed these books. So it's a great book to read to allow children to really have a first-hand account of what it was like to go into hiding during, if you were Jewish, during the Holocaust, and then what it was like essentially in the short time to come out and find out that all your family was dead. I mean, can you really imagine that you will spend several years hiding, having to be quiet, not knowing whether you're going to be captured every day and survive, and then come out and have gone in, have grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and all sorts of friends and neighbors, and realize they're all dead. That in those years that you survived, they died, sometimes horribly. And then she relates her grandfather, who was in the camps and had to work hard and was starving, and how it's changed him psychologically, because he spent several years on the edge of starvation, so he's going through people's trash cans. Essentially, he's kind of gone crazy. But again, he spent several years practically starving. So, and being imprisoned and abused and knowing that he could die at any moment. So fantastic book, great to read, highly recommend it. It is still in print. I did double check that before doing this review. So that is it for this review. If you like what you see, please sure to check out the rest of my channel. I do mostly children's picture books, a variety of different films, mostly family-friendly stuff. I do books like this, which are a little bit more on the heavy side. I do other nonfiction books that are, again, sometimes on the heavy side, but most of the time I do children's picture books. But all of it's educational focused. We are a secular, non-religious homeschooling family, so that's one of the reasons I started this channel, to review these books. And I do have an MLS degree, so I am a trained librarian, so I do actually know what I'm doing. So be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see. Check out what I've already got. Look forward to seeing more. I'm planning on keep doing book reviews, film reviews. I do a sprinkling of homeschooling focused videos on different, I did a whole law of videos and plan to add more as my child gets older and we kind of experience. As of this video, this is being shot in 2021. My daughter is 2. So we're not really getting into the education part yet, but we will. I also do a variety of, bring in various travel videos, specifically focused on traveling with children. So again, like and subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you.